Hello and welcome to the Lounge Pokemon Draft League Season 1 Battle Breakdown, a series where I briefly dissect and discuss the battles from each week, featuring and pointing out any highlights, upsets, or major plays made during those games. If you haven't watched this match yet, then you're in for a treat. For the first game of the first week of this draft tournament, we have two strong competitors in Jake and Kyle, facing off against one another. And boy, do they give us quite the exciting show. So, starting off turn 1, we have Jake leading Dragapult versus Kyle's Spidops. Dragapult uses Flamethrower, dealing 99% to Spidops, but not triggering a Focus Sash. Now, whether this was blind luck or meticulously planned by Kyle is unsure. However, his Spidops ultimately is able to get off his Sticky Webs before dying to a crit Flamethrower. That definitely mattered. Now, assuming Dragapult was running Max Special Attack and its most common item, the Choice Specs, it would have been possible for Spidops to use an EV spread to guarantee its survival versus Flamethrower without a Focus Sash. However, it's far more likely that it was holding a Focus Sash and this is just a funny damage roll. But part of me would like to hope that Kyle did plan for this situation to happen. Anyways, Spidops faints, and Kyle sends in his Gardevoir, which is very threatening to Dragapult if Dragapult is Choice Specs. Otherwise, Shadow Ball or Sludge Bomb from a non-Specs Dragapult is very threatening to Gardevoir. Shadow Ball can deal upwards of 80%, so I think Kyle probably predicted there being a Specs here in this situation. Otherwise, this would have been a pretty risky play to make. But it was the right play because Jake switches out his Dragapult to Sylveon. Probably predicting the attack and tanking a Moonblast. Then taking this opportunity, he switches into his Lurantis as Kyle begins setting up Calm Minds. Now, this is a really scary situation. Calm Mind Gardevoir is very threatening, and it's boosting its special defense. So if Lurantis can't keep up with this, this could become quite a bit of a problem. So, unfortunately, Lurantis seems to be holding the heavy-duty boots, which is why it didn't get a speed boost from the Sticky Webs. That would have probably made a pretty big difference here, but we don't really know because that's not how things go. It's holding the heavy-duty boots. So Gardevoir gets to get another Calm Mind up before Lurantis gets its first Leaf Storm up, boosting its special attack stat. Now, here's where things get interesting again. So, Gardevoir uses its Mystical Fire, dealing 95% to Lurantis. Now, this is an incredibly low roll for a +2 Gardevoir to not one-hit KO Lurantis, unless this is a very bulky Lurantis set, which maybe it would have had a better chance at survival. But either way, surviving this hit was very lucky on Jake's end. So, he gets the plus its special attack from getting hit by Mystical Fire, and a +3 Lurantis Leaf Storm can kill a +2 special defense Gardevoir from this range. Unfortunately, it seems his luck from surviving that Mystical Fire kind of got paid back with him getting the 10% miss on Leaf Storm. So Gardevoir is able to finish off Lurantis, and this puts Jake into a situation where he gets to... He could have swapped in Dragapult here if it was running Sludge Bomb or Shadow Ball, and potentially killed Gardevoir from this range if it was holding Specs. But I think Tyranitar was the safer play here, especially because even though it gets a speed drop, that doesn't matter. It gets the Sandstorm boost to its special defense, so Gardevoir can't immediately threaten a KO here. So Tyranitar probably was the better choice. So Gardevoir sends off a Moonblast, and Tyranitar tanks it like a champ. The minus special attack boost there, that's RNG, but it's not really going to affect Tyranitar much. Jake hits a Stone Edge, so pretty big risk. Maybe he was predicting a switch with that, but Crunch probably would have been an equally valid move to make here, because I don't think there was any chance he would get a one-hit KO. Maybe he was fishing for a crit, but the Stone Edge hit. So now, Kyle predicting another Stone Edge, probably after getting his berry, he attempts to Terrastalize his Gardevoir into a Steel type. Firing another Moonblast, doesn't KO Tyranitar. Now, versus a Stone Edge, Steel type Gardevoir probably would have survived a hit if it wasn't a crit. However, Jake chooses to use Crunch in this turn and knocks out Gardevoir. Now, unfortunately, this kind of means Kyle wasted his Terra type, which could have come into play later in the game and made a bigger deal. But I do appreciate the attempt to preserve his boosts and avoid the Stone Edge, but ultimately that didn't really work out. Even if the Gardevoir did somehow kill Tyranitar, it probably wouldn't have lasted long versus in the Sandstorm versus the other members of Jake's team. So probably a bit of a panic Terra type. Could have planned that out a bit better, but regardless, Kyle then sends in Donphan, and Jake just lets his Tyranitar sacrifice take the hit. He sends in Dragapult, which loses speed, but it's still way faster than Donphan. Now, a Specs Dragapult with Draco Meteor can usually one-hit KO a Donphan, even without a crit, but Donphan's got Sturdy, so it gets to survive the hit. Now, this is a bit of a tough spot, because Donphan gets a free knockoff in, dealing heavy damage to Dragapult, but more importantly, making it lose its Specs, which makes Dragapult far less, it significantly cripples Dragapult's damage output, which kind of takes it out of the game. It's still useful, but against full health Pokemon, it won't really be able to deal much damage, so its only purpose here now is as a cleanup sweeper at the end. Jake decides to use U-turn here, which is a weird choice if I had to give my opinion. Because it gives Kyle the switch advantage. He kills the Donphan, but and then Jake chooses to switch in Sylveon. But now Kyle gets to choose what he wants to send it to counter Sylveon. So maybe not the best play there, but Kyle sends in the... Sylveon loses speed, but then Kyle sends in the terrifying Volcarona. So, again, this is why I think the switch out with U-turn on that turn probably wasn't the best choice, because now Sylveon can't really threaten Volcarona that much, and Volcarona can immediately start setting up. So, this is a bit of a tough spot. So, Volcarona starts setting up his Quiver Dance, and Jake sends in his Pawmot, which isn't immediately threatening to Volcarona. I mean, Electric Fighting doesn't do much to Volcarona. However, it could be carrying something that might make a big deal. But now, here's the tough part. A +1 special attack Volcarona, fully invested in special attack and running Flamethrower, which is a pretty common set to run on a boosting Volcarona set. This doesn't mean this is what Kyle's running, but it's pretty common. Has a nearly 95% chance to one-hit KO a Pawmot after just one Quiver Dance. So, if that was the set Kyle was running here, he could have knocked out... He has an almost 100% chance to knock out Pawmot if he just goes for an attack this turn. However, he decides to set up another Quiver Dance, probably not expecting much from Pawmot. But ultimately, I'd argue this decision lost him the entire game, because Pawmot then gets a Nuzzle in, paralyzing the Volcarona. Now, the speed loss alongside the chance to lose turns is huge. The Flame Body doesn't really make a big deal here, but paralyzing the Volcarona cripples it kind of beyond a point where it's not going to be able to reliably clean up at this point. So that was a major choke on Kyle's part. I don't know if he could have predicted Nuzzle, but regardless, this was kind of the turning point of the game where Jake got into a significant advantage. So the next couple turns are spent with Pawmot resting and reviving the Tyranitar. So, and Volcarona just spends these turns boosting. So Kyle's really leading into the Volcarona sweep and hoping things are going to work out for him. However, this doesn't really work out in the end. So Pawmot has Natural Cure, gets to switch out, Cure its Sleep, it's back to full. Jake sends in Sylveon probably just as a sacrifice to finish letting Volcarona set up, and it does a Hyper Voice. It's not going to do any damage. It's a +4 special defense Volcarona, so it takes the Bug Buzz. The crit definitely didn't matter, but sacrifices Sylveon. Now this is part of the reason why that Pawmot play was so important, because without T-Tar, Volcarona probably would have been able to clean up versus a team of special attackers like Iron Moth and Dragapult, but the Rock-type Tyranitar is devastating to Volcarona if it can't get attack off. And unfortunately for Kyle, that's what happens. He gets paralyzed for a turn. Stone Edge hits and gets a critical hit. I can't even believe Jake's luck at that point. Like, that's crazy. I guess that makes up for Leaf Storm missing earlier. But either way, that means Kyle's Volcarona faints. That was kind of his trump card. He's in a very tough spot now. So, from here on out, the game is kind of settled. Golden Go tries to finish off Tyranitar with this Make It Rain, but with the special defense boost in Sandstorm, T-Tar is very bulky. Tyranitar goes down, but Golden Go is crippled, and the game's kind of set from here. Jake's Iron Moth gets sent out, and for the first time all game, activating his Cork Drive with its booster energy. So now this thing is just a monster. Any hit from this is gonna knock out just about anything Kyle could send out here. So thanks to it easily finishes off Golden Go. I mean, why not? It also gets the +1 special attack. Not really gonna make a big deal, but it just makes this thing even more of a monster. So now things get interesting one last time because Kyle sends in his Salamence. Now, we don't see Intimidate come off, so that tells us this is a Moxie Salamence. Moxie Salamence is very capable as a reverse endgame sweeper, especially with Sticky Webs up. This is a big deal. Salamence is faster than Iron Moth here. And Iron Moth is very frail. So, a strong move from Salamence could finish off Iron Moth, start boosting Salamence, and then clean up the game from here. Unfortunately, Kyle wasted his Terra type, but Jake takes advantage of this. Terra's into Fairy, avoiding the 4 times effective Earthquake, barely surviving the hit, and finishing him off with the Dazzling Gleam. So, ultimately, Jake won that game. A Moxie-boosted Salamence, had it knocked out Iron Moth on that turn, would have been able to fully sweep the rest of Jake's team, and made a bit of a comeback. But Jake was ready for that, Terra'd into Fairy, and survived the hit. So it was a clean game, but very close. The entire battle was neck and neck. There are numerous key moments that ultimately could have made it go either player's direction. I really liked the smart Terror type at the end, and the Nuzzle play with Pawmot. Those were both huge. I'm excited to see what happens with the other battles coming up with this first week in the tournament. If this battle is a sign of what's to come, then I'm eager to see what happens next. I had fun making this video. I may not do this for every match, but maybe just the important games. Either way, I'm excited to see more big plays and upsets. Until next time, this is Draft Battle Breakdown, and I'll see you guys in the next video.